Welcome to the Travel Plus Loyalty Podcast. We are again ready with our Monday morning update.
The electronic bag tag is basically a device that a passenger can attach to their suitcase. And attaching a device to the suitcase, that's not of course what it's all about, but it's all about the information that's stored and displayed on the device, because that's basically the same information that used to be displayed on the long piece of paper.
You just heard Jasper Quak, the CEO of BAGTAG. He was talking about how they have developed an electronic bag tag solution that is not device specific for the airlines and airports. This means that airlines can use different electronic bag tags and only have one technical solution working behind the scenes. This also allows them to embed the solution into their own website and app, making it simple and easy to use for you as a passenger. Electronic bag tags are today's theme, and we will talk to Jasper to hear how his company BAGTRACK have helped creating a more touchless travel and also a more sustainable travel in not using the paper baggage tags and all the printers needed to produce it. Let's get started with today's talk and go over to our studio in a well-equipped meeting room at the conferencing center at the Clarion Hotel Copenhagen Airport. Welcome to Jasper Quak, the Managing Director of BAGTAG. Jasper, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you very much, Henrik. Thanks for the invitation. Very happy to be here. Like you mentioned and pronounced very correctly, which doesn't happen all the time. My name is Jasper Quak. I'm indeed the Managing Director of BAGTAG. A little bit about myself. Well, obviously, I love traveling and I'm very fortunate to have been able to make travel also part of my professional life in every sense of the word. I've been involved with BAGTAG since the start of the company, really. So that was back in 2014. Back then, I was still an intern working on everything that needs to be done, setting up a startup. And over the years, as the company developed, so did I. And a couple of years ago, took over the daily management together with my partner, Nico, who's our CTO.
Interesting. And as you mentioned, it is a startup. So BAGTAG, can you tell us a little bit about the history and the vision behind BAGTAG since you founded it in 2014?
Yeah, definitely. So BAGTAG is really founded with the sole purpose of developing and introducing the world's first secure electronic bag tag solution. The electronic bag tags are really a concept that have been given attention for the last, over 10 years already, really, because it's a very logical next step in travel innovations. The electronic bag tag makes sure that passengers don't have to rely on paper anymore, and I think we'll get to a couple of those things at a later stage. But really the vision behind BAGTAG is we have to make travel pleasant and efficient and seamless. With all the innovations that are already going on, you can check in online, you can check in on your mobile app, you can already get your visa online. With so many innovations, we believed it didn't make any sense anymore to get to the airport and wait in line to get a piece of paper attached to your suitcase. And now fast forward a little bit, we're already able to pay for our groceries using a watch. And still, at many airports and airlines, we're still waiting in line to get a piece of paper attached. And I think that really sums up the drive behind BAGTAG. It's really about making travel pleasant, taking away all the hassle that comes with queuing up, and making people enjoy travel. Yeah.
Interesting. And as you mentioned, removing the paperwork and making it more seamless, a little bit of strange situation in the last year or so with the pandemic, right? Where you see that there's been a lot of focus on touchless travel and introducing of technologies that can make it more seamlessly. What have 2020 or the year of the pandemic, what have that been doing to BAGTAG as a company? Has it been helping you, or has it been making you grow slower, or how have 2020 been?
Yeah, great question. I think the answer is yes, all of the above. Yeah, we've seen several effects really. I mean, back when COVID first started to spread in China, it was, I think, 4 months after we launched China Southern Airlines, at least their domestic travels. And I figured, okay, we're going to see not a lot of growth or even decline within our Chinese market. But then when it started to spread across the world, really in January, February, things got tense. And I mean, for us as well, it's been quite a shock to see everything closing down and all the borders closing and all the airports closing, airlines being grounded. So we of course started to worry as well. However, what we also did was trying to look on what we're still able to do, how the concept of electronic bagtags still fits in with, well, the changing environment. And as you mentioned, I think that the COVID-19 crisis brought along a lot of interest in touchless innovations and everything really that makes a passenger journey more touchless. For a couple of reasons. One, when people don't have to touch anything, you have less risk of infections, but also because it makes the entire process a lot more efficient. If you're not able to really plan ahead when it comes to your manpower and what infrastructure to plan for, it's a lot easier if you have people taking care of their process themselves. So with passengers really being able to check in themselves and their bags, you'll need less staff and less infrastructure at the airport, meaning you're way more flexible. And at the same time, we saw passengers highly valuing the self-service aspect of what we already do, meaning that we saw basically two effects happening during the crisis. One, projects being put on hold because airlines were resource constrained, time constrained, people were not in the office anymore. With some airlines, we even had to put projects on hold because their developers were not able to access their mobile apps anymore because they weren't allowed to go into the office. But on the other hand, we saw a peak in interest from other carriers that wanted to right now invest in touchless technology. Basically using the slogan "Never waste a good crisis," really held through for some airlines. Yeah.
Yeah, but that so good and bad during the COVID pandemic. But let's go over to the product itself. What is a BAGTAG? What is the screen, the app, time, and so forth? How do I use a BAGTAG in real life?
Of course, I'm going to tell you it's quite simple. It's which it is. The electronic BAGTAG is basically a device that a passenger can attach to their suitcase. And attaching a device to the suitcase, that's not of course what it's all about, but it's all about the information that's stored and displayed on the device, because that's basically the same information that used to be displayed on the long piece of paper. The rationale, if we go one step back, is the following. As I mentioned earlier, you're already able to check in online and on your mobile phone. However, when you nowadays arrive at the airport, you can have your boarding pass on your phone, and if you don't have a bag to check in, you can proceed directly through security. Easy process, easy does it. However, if you have a bag to check in, you still have to report to a kiosk or a desk and get that long piece of paper attached to your suitcase. Well, this electronic BAGTAG device that we developed completely replaces the need for that paper tag. The process looks, again, quite simple. When an airline is connected to our systems, you can check in the mobile app of the airline, and then after having received your mobile boarding pass, you select a simple option saying, I want to also check in my baggage. Then you basically open our software within the airline app, but you don't notice it. It looks like any like part of the airline's app. And then you're able to transfer all the baggage information from your mobile phone to your electronic BAGTAG device. We use a range of various communication methods to ensure a secure transfer of the data. And then the display on the tag updates, and you're ready to go and drop your bag off at the airport. The electronic tag generally, well, actually all of them, use e-paper technology. It's a technology that's known from the e-reader. If you have a Kindle or a Kobo, it's exactly the same technology for the display. And one of the great properties about this is you might have noticed this in your e-reader sometime, is that when you switch off the device, your screen can still display the most recently shown information without consuming any energy. And this property makes this technology very applicable to baggage because, well, you don't want to have a battery run out mid-flight or mid-sorting at the airport, and then all the information disappearing from the screen. So the only way to do this properly is by using this kind of technology.
Oh, that's interesting because that's one of the questions I had as a user of this or potential user of this is that exactly the battery time. Should I replace and charge the battery and what happens and so forth? So a little bit more words on this technology of the screen from the e-readers. So if I understand you correctly, you say that if I upload my BAGTAG now and it shows on the screen of the BAGTAG device, then it basically stays there forever.
Exactly.
And that doesn't consume any battery for having that. So it only changes whenever I upload a new one.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly. Yeah. So this technology, it's called a bistable display. If you let's imagine a series of balls, all of them half colored in black, half colored in white. Basically, what you do when you upload or update the screen, an e-paper screen, is change the balls one way or the other. And by that, because they're so tiny, you can create a picture on the screen. Once they're changed in one way or the other, so either black or white, they will stay that way forever until they change again. So indeed, it will never consume any energy once they're updated.
Interesting, because that definitely solves one of my questions about running out of battery, and because one of the other devices and so forth, do they run out of battery and so forth? So that basically means I have a device now with a screen on that doesn't or hardly consume any energy. So how long does a BAGTAG can last? Is it a year or is it forever? In which sense to how many flights can I take with a BAGTAG before I need to replace it?
Yeah. To be honest, we made it a little bit too good. So it's no. So the device that we are currently selling on our website and is also in use with all our airline partners, that will last for at least 2,500 updates. And an update is then indeed transferring information from the airline app to the device. There's also a lot of encryption involved in that part of the process because you really want to ensure that all the data is completely safe, because it's personal data. So there's a lot of encryption and decryption going on. You communicate over Bluetooth, and then you're able to update the screen. So you can do that at least for 2,500 times. And for most people, that's pretty much a lifetime. I mean, before this crisis hit, I used to fly a lot, but it would have taken me many years to get to that number of flights, and before the battery runs out. And in terms of device lifetime, it's really designed to withstand all the rough operating conditions that you can encounter. I mean, you probably heard the stories or seen them firsthand about how baggage sometimes is handled, it's not always that pleasant. So you really want a device like this to be very sturdy. You don't want it having come off or being damaged mid handling. So it's really designed to withstand all those conditions, which is also tested, by the way. We did some endurance testing with Van der Lande, one of the major VHS providers worldwide. Basically subjecting the device to normal wear and tear for a period of 15 years, which all the devices actually withstood perfectly fine, but the suitcases used in the test were completely worn out. So it's safe to say you can use it for a long time.
Yeah, that's good. And that also means on the screen that you cannot easily break the screen on that part, even though if you having some rough baggage handling or throwing your suitcase into the airplane or down to the baggage belt and so forth. So that you said you have been testing with this DHS partner. So okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also during design phases, we use a lot of those drop ball tests. You have a big lead ball plopping down on the display. So yeah, it's really been subjected to any kind of situation that you can encounter. I mean, it's not bulletproof, so you can break it. We've been able to do so in tests, but you really have to go above and beyond to achieve that. Yeah.
So if a customer buys a BAGTAG, and after 5 flights, someone basically ruins or breaks the glass, then I assume that's within some kind of warranty replacement of that.
Well, if it happens that fast, I can tell you right now, I'd be very pleased to have it sent back to us. We'll replace it with a new one because I'd be very curious to see how that could have happened so fast. Yeah.
That's very confident on your product, I must say that. So, a little bit back to the use cases. You mentioned apps and so forth. I hear you saying the airlines that you are embedded into their app. So I don't need several apps to make this work. It's just the airline apps that you co-work with, where I can use the one app, or can I also use it as a standalone if there's an airline that doesn't support this product.
Yeah. You're actually touching upon one of the challenges that we sometimes face, or continuously, really. We need to get an airline connected to our systems before you can use it as a passenger with that airline. I mean, on the one hand, when you achieve an airline connection, that's a big thing. It really it takes a lot of time and effort, and also a lot of confidence from the airline, because they're subjecting their passengers also to a new technology, which you have to be very confident about. So these are long processes. It takes a lot of time, a lot of confidence, not helped by not being able to see each other, like in the last 2 years. But then indeed, the way that it works is actually funny, because we're in the process of releasing a new solution that will change this a little bit. But right now, the way this works is indeed our solutions are fully embedded within the airline's application. I firmly believe that's eventually always the way to go, because it really makes the process seamless. You, as an airline, you don't have your customers leaving your app to go to another app to be able to use technology that you might be selling branded in your airline logo, for instance. As a consumer, you want to be able to use a product out of the box, use it with any airline that's connected to the system, and you trust the airline. You don't necessarily trust a third party like BAGTAG. You trust the airline. So it's always the best solution, I feel, to have everything embedded within the airline app and make it a seamless user journey. On that note, however, we are in the process of launching a big update of our mobile solutions, in which passengers will be able to also update their electronic tag from within the BAGTAG app. It's basically going to be a light integration that we can offer to airlines that are still hesitant as to fully embed everything in their own app, or simply resource constrained, because, you probably know the mobile development roadmaps across the world are long, to say the least. It's not rare that we encounter a roadmap that's already planned completely full for the next 2 years. And by offering the airline usage of our app for their passengers, we're able to bypass all those things. So there are really two flavors to it. But in any case, we need to have a backend connection to the airline.
Okay. And that leads us to the next question. You say airlines, airports, kiosks, and so forth. How many airlines and airports are currently integrating or co-working with BAGTAG?
Currently, we have 5 airlines in fully live operations. That's Lufthansa, Swiss, Austrian, KLM, and China Southern Airlines. Apart from those airlines, we have 2 other carriers that are already connected to our backend systems. And next month, unfortunately not yet, but next month we'll be announcing one of the 3 major carriers in the Middle East to launch our solutions later this year as well. That's on the airline side. on the airport side, there's one very nice property of electronic bagtags that makes a specific partnership with an airport to make it work at that airport not necessary, because the electronic bagtag contains all the same information that's also displayed on a paper tag, means that they are fully backward compatible. So any infrastructure at an airport can already handle processing electronic bagtags. Our solutions have been used at over 350 airports worldwide, and none of those airports had to change anything before they were able to start accepting electronic bagtags. Having said that, we are right now in the middle of a project where we are actually launching an airport rather than an airline. But it's going to be very exciting and very new. And up until recently, we didn't think it was possible. So it's taking a lot of our time, but it's a very promising concept.
But the airports, I assume, is quite essential when you're going to have this seamless traveling. Then, if you have to have it fully seamlessly and avoid any contact to ground crew in the check-in and so forth, the airports need to facilitate these self-service baggage drop kiosks in the check-in area as well. So are you in dialogue with airports about increasing that? Because then I'm able to do it completely seamlessly, going from online check-in before I leave my house, and then all the way actually to my seat in the airplane without actually touching anything.
Yeah, you're completely right. What's it's a bit of a challenge sometimes is the huge number of stations that are employed across an airline's network. For instance, with the Middle Eastern carrier that we're launching now, I think we have now formal approval of 150 plus airports, and we're still working on more. And well, it's hard to control the exact backdrop setup centrally for a network that big. Having said that, you don't necessarily need self-backdrop facilities to be able to offer a touchless backdrop process. For instance, I was actually very happily surprised encountering this. It was, I think, 2018. I was flying from Zurich to Athens on Swiss. I arrived at the airport, and there was a huge line for the backdrop. Obviously, I was using my BAGTAG, and I was actually ushered by a check-in agent from the regular check-in line to a fast backdrop line, specifically for people with electronic BAGTAGs attached to their suitcase. And the only thing I had to do was show my boarding pass, which they were able to scan, and put my bag on the belt. That was all. So even then, with a traditionally staffed counter, I didn't need to touch anything. So I still had my touchless passenger journey, but then within traditional infrastructure. So that's very well possible. And for the airport, it makes a lot of sense to facilitate. But it's always a bit of a hen and egg situation. So if you don't have the passengers with an EBT at your airport, why make a separate line? But we see that now more and more and more, especially in the countries where we've been active for the longest time. So that's Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, for instance.
Interesting. And now we're talking airports and airlines. You also have some partnership with Amadeus. Can you tell a little bit about how a product company of electronic bagtags makes up a partnership with Amadeus?
Yeah, great question. Actually, it's one of the news updates of last year that I'm personally most proud of. It took a long time. It was a long time in the making. The reasoning behind this partnership is that the aviation industry has seen electronic bagtags being around in the margin for some time. We've been around for now 7 years now. And every time we talk to an airline and we wanted to set up a pilot or POC or roll out an airline, there was usually always the issue of us not fully understanding how the departure control system works. The departure control system is a system, well, you're probably familiar with the term, but it basically helps the airline keep track of who's checked in, who's booked on a flight, how much bags are expected, and who owns what bag, and which barcodes belong to which bags. To make an EBT work, you need a connection between the software of the electronic bag tag provider and this departure control system. Otherwise, you're not able to issue the right barcode to be printed on the screen, and everything becomes chaos. Most of the airlines that we wanted to work with had a challenge in getting those configurations done. So we started reaching out to the biggest company we could find doing this, which is Amadeus. And they also received a lot of requests from airlines that were looking to become active with electronic bag tags. And they didn't have a partner yet to help them do that. So that's where we came in, especially because we have opened up our software solutions to all the different EBT hardware providers that are out there. So if you develop an EBT device tomorrow, you can come aboard our software, and then airlines only have to connect to one tool to be able to offer support of a lot of different EBT devices to their passengers. And I think this approach was for Amadeus finally the signal of also to start moving on this and to answer our calls. Yeah.
And that'll actually lead me a little bit to the next question and a little bit about history, because back in the days, some years ago, I had a remover suitcase that has a Lufthansa BAGTAG or remover hand tag, but it only worked on Lufthansa and so forth. So you're saying that the partnership with Amadeus, you're a little bit more open platform strategy. Is that what makes your product or solution better than what we have seen before?
Yeah, it certainly makes it different from what we've seen before. I think back in the now I make the concept sound old, but back in the early days of EBTs, I think every company was really working in isolation. And I mean, there's not a lot of companies working on electronic bag tags, but there's some. And everyone was working on their own device, and some of them also on software behind it. And some of them were relying on the airline to build their own software. What we recognized was a need to securely standardize the way of integrating this with an airline, and also make it so easy that an airline would be able to do an EBT implementation within a matter of weeks. That led us to indeed open up the platform and really became an entire new line of business and solutions of BAGTAG, because it's not only about the device anymore. It's really about promoting the concept, and because we are the only company that's able to offer a supplier agnostic solution, so there's no hardware lock-in. You can choose for yourself, and we're able to help you integrate any supplier that you want. Also advise on the operational side. I think that really put us ahead and made us the market leader that we are today in this, still small but growing market.
And that's actually because you're talking about it as what is that you basically has as unique selling points, and that is the platform, the open platform, and that also means that an airline can co-work with other electronic bag tag providers if they need to, or want to develop their own bag tag at some point. But you put in the back end, the entire infrastructure in place, so it basically makes it easier for them on that part. And that leads again to sustainability. That is a logical question from a lot of travelers in these days about the sustainability in these solutions. So is a physical electronic bag tag, is that more sustainable than using a lot of these papers and so forth that you typically use? What is your say on that?
That's a good question, and one that's I've had before. To be honest, I can't give you a completely straight answer because I don't know 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure that it is actually more sustainable. However, what I do know is that the paper backtags that are still used today are, well, it's not very eco-friendly paper. You've seen a lot of them. There's a lot of plastic involved. There's glue on it, printing, and they're thrown away in a regular bin. And those, I can tell you for sure that those tags are not easily recycled. And there's a lot of them. Back in 2019, when we were still traveling heavily, every one of us, you could circle the Earth 55 times if you put all the paper labels that were printed for that year behind each other. So that's a lot of them. It doesn't answer the question yet. I mean, every time you use an EBT, you don't need a paper tag, and so that's saving paper immediately. If you then also, and that's where the responsibility of the consumer comes in, properly recycle. Or if you want to throw away your EBT and you do it properly, so then you throw it away in a recycle bin that's available in every country, basically all over the world, then yes, I think we can safely say it's more sustainable. But there's still some responsibility with the end consumer in this case. We are always focusing on making it as sustainable as possible. And that means looking to minimize the number of components that's used in a tag. And that doesn't always come to the benefit of the cost, actually. Sometimes we make a choice to have a more sustainable component to be able to, of course, further the green cause that we're also supporting. And of course, we keep on innovating with some of the new solutions that we've got coming up. I'm very sure that the sustainability of a product like this will dramatically increase.
So what I hear you say that the paper strips from the paper traditional bag tags, along also with the printers that is used in all airports and spare parts and all that stuff, then that combined with a bag tag that you can use for at least 2,500 flights if you max it out, combined with that and recycling of the product afterwards, then you're pretty confident that the overall should be more sustainable from compared to paper. And I tend to agree on that part, because the paper that you get, it's not necessarily made on recycling paper, as you mentioned. So I think it's a good one, but definitely one that is interesting to look into when you develop your product further on and so forth, because the more battery and the smaller batteries and so forth, the better it's getting. So that leads us also to how you produce your bag tag. So where it's developed, designed, produced, is it something you can put some words on?
Yes, of course. Well, I think first of all the original bag tag that's also on display on our website and now used across the world has been developed completely in-house. So it's been quite a challenge, but I think that as a company we're very happy that we did so. It took a long time and it took a lot of people, and we're talking hardware engineers, firmware engineers, everything that launching a new product and developing a new product that's difficult. Also because there's not a lot of comparison when you're starting to develop something new, and then getting a concept ready for production. That's an whole different challenge. So that took a long time, but it really made us aware of all the pitfalls and all the details that you need to focus your attention on when developing a product like this. And you really have to keep the consumer in mind, keep the rough baggage handling in mind, everything from A to Z. So again, I'm very happy that the first device we developed completely in-house, and we have that manufactured at different facilities in Taiwan and China. And we're actually now in the process of launching a new device, which is also manufactured and developed in those same regions, with a lot of help from our team. Having now the experience from having worked on the first BAGTAG that we offered, we have now been able to really speed up the process of developing a new product to very little time. Actually, it's one of the things we did during COVID, and it's going to be a very exciting product launch later this year, in which we are going to announce the world's first batteryless electronic BAGTAG.
So a batteryless electronic BAGTAG, that is definitely a step in the right direction when it comes to sustainability. So a little bit about the pipeline. You have disclosed a little bit about a new airline. Was it from Star Alliance? You talking about a big Middle Eastern airline as well, with 140 plus airports coming up. You are talking about the new version, a version 2 of your BAGTAG without any battery and so forth. Some final words on what we're going to see the next 6 months from BAGTAG.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started, Henrik. We'll be here for another hour. I mean, we are really working on a lot of exciting things. We are indeed right now launching a great partner airline in the Middle East that's going very well. And they're really embracing the concept and taking it very seriously, and are really going to launch it widely to all their passengers across all stations. So that's one of the very exciting airline processes that we're now engaged in, apart from many others, of course. We are indeed launching a new electronic BAGTAG, which will be batteryless. Also, indeed, like you mentioned, another big step towards a more sustainable product, I believe. Because still, even though the battery in the original BAGTAG is very, very small, it's still a battery. And if we can do without, that's always better. We are in the process also, which I haven't touched upon yet, and is very exciting, of launching a completely new product, but I think the most complementary product that we could think of in cooperation with one of our partners, Versa, which is a tracking device. We are launching this device as the BAGTRACK to our users. And with this device, you will be able to see the real-time location of your suitcase and receive relevant updates during the journey of your bag. So you will be able to see whether your bag is indeed on board of the same flight that you are, whether it made your transfer, and which carousel to pick it up when you arrive at your destination. And the nice thing about it is that it connects seamlessly to your BAGTAG. So if you have both devices and you update your BAGTAG, your BAGTRACK will be simultaneously updated and registered for the same flight, meaning you don't have to do anything. You just tag your bag, put your tracker in the suitcase, proceed to the airport, and receive all the relevant updates across the journey. I get excited when I speak about it. It's one of the other nice innovations that we're working on at the moment. Yeah. So
this BAGTRACK device, I think it's good to see you develop your services and your products as well as what is complementary to the BAGTRACK original product. So when do we see more about this? Is this year that you will launch the BAGTRACK? Yeah, we are now actually in the process of finalizing tests on how to have the two products work properly together. Because it takes some effort to properly integrate two things to make the sum of the parts bigger, to make the sum bigger than its parts, and that's what we're working on now. So I expect a couple more months of finalizing all these tests, processing them, and then you'll see everything come into fruition with the launch of our new mobile application, in which all the parts of what we do work together. That's interesting, because now you have already disclosed that we have something more to talk about, that you can talk an hour of new products and so forth. So the time is running out for this talk, and I think we have already now a lot in the pipeline for talk again in 3 or 4 months' time when you're ready for disclosing more news and looking, for example, if we can talk more about the BAGTRACK. The first version of the new BAGTRACK, also the second version of your new BAGTRACK without the battery and so forth. So I think we should stop here and for now, and having something as a teaser for our next talk. So Jasper, thank you very much for joining the Travel Plus Loyalty podcast, and thank you for your good insights in electronic BAGTAGs and showing us a little bit of what this product is and how the passengers actually can benefit from using that.
Thank you very much, Henrik. I really enjoyed being on the show, and already looking forward to hearing myself. Oh, no, I'm not looking forward to hearing myself speak, but I'm looking forward to be on it again. Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
That marks the end of this episode of our Monday morning update. We from the Travel Plus Loyalty podcast team wish you a very good day, and if you do travel, then we wish you a safe travel.